The fluorescent lights of Family Diner hummed with a tired cheerfulness, casting a warm, if slightly greasy, glow on the worn booths and checkered floor. For Marcus Thorne, a single father of two, this diner was a weekly ritual, a small slice of normalcy in a life often dictated by early mornings. His hands, calloused from years of working as a carpenter, deftly navigated a stack of pancakes for his daughter, Maya, a whirlwind of bright pink bows and boundless energy, and his son, Jamal, a thoughtful, quiet boy whose nose was usually buried in a book. Marcus wasn't rich. Every dollar was accounted for, stretched thin across rent, groceries, and the occasional treat that made his children's eyes light up. But he was rich in spirit, rich in love for his kids, and rich in a quiet dignity that saw him through the toughest times. He believed in hard work, in honesty, and in the simple, profound power of a kind gesture. His mother, a woman who had raised him alone with little more than grit and grace, had instilled in him the unwavering principle: always leave a place better than you found it, and always help someone if you can. This particular Saturday morning, the diner was bustling. The aroma of bacon mingled with the sweet scent of maple syrup, and the clatter of plates provided a comforting soundtrack. Marcus watched Maya attempt to draw a cat on her napkin with a syrup-covered finger, while Jamal meticulously organized his tater tots into a tiny, edible pyramid. He smiled, a deep contentment settling in his chest. These moments, simple as they were his everything. Across the diner, near the window, a small drama was unfolding. A woman in a crisp, olive-green military uniform sat with 3 children. They looked to be around Jamal's age, maybe a little younger, and they were animated, giggling over their menus. The woman, whose rank insignia indicated she was a high-ranking officer, had a tired but kind face, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. She carried herself with an unmistakable air of authority, yet there was a softness in her eyes as she listened to the children's excited chatter. Marcus noticed her because his own children, particularly Jamal, had a fascination with soldiers. Jamal often talked about serving his country one day, inspired by the stories of courage and sacrifice he read in his history books. Marcus admired soldiers too, recognizing the immense personal cost of their service. The waitress, a harried teenager named Chloe, brought the woman's bill. The soldier took out a card, swiped it, and then frowned. She tried again. Chloe's polite smile began to waver, replaced by a look of growing discomfort. The soldier's shoulders slumped almost imperceptibly, and a faint blush crept up her neck. The children, oblivious at first, slowly grew quiet. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," Chloe said, her voice strained. "It says, do you have another card?" The soldier rummaged through her wallet, her movements becoming increasingly frantic. She pulled out another card, then another, each one met with the same unforgiving declined message. Her face, which had been tired, now looked utterly mortified. The children, now fully aware, looked up at their mother, their excitement. One of the younger boys, a little redhead, started to sniffle. "Mommy, are we not getting our pancakes?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The soldier closed her eyes for a brief moment, a flicker of despair crossing her features. "It's all right, sweetie," she murmured, her voice tight with embarrassment. "Mommy just seems to be having some trouble with her cards today." She looked at Chloe, her dignity still intact, despite the obvious humiliation. "I don't understand what's happening. I have funds. I can call my bank, but it might take a moment." Chloe, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, glanced around nervously. The diner was busy, and a small line was forming at the register. The manager, a burly man named Frank, was already casting impatient glances their way. Marcus watched the scene unfold, his heart aching for the woman. He knew that look of quiet desperation, the struggle to maintain composure when life threw an unexpected and a soldier, no less, someone who put their life on the line for others, now facing humiliation over a simple meal. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "Always help someone if you can." Without a second thought, Marcus pushed back his chair. "Excuse me, kids," he said. "Daddy's just going to handle something." He walked over to the register, a quiet determination in his stride. He stood beside the soldier, who was still trying to explain the situation to Chloe, her voice barely above a whisper. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice calm and clear, cutting through the tension. The soldier, startled, looked up at him, her eyes wide with surprise. Chloe looked relieved. Chloe asked, confused. "There," Bill Marcus clarified, nodding towards the soldier and her children. The soldier's brow furrowed. "Oh no, sir. You don't have to do that." "I can." "Nonsense," Marcus interrupted gently, pulling out his wallet. It wasn't full, but it had enough. "Consider it a small thank you." "For your service," he smiled, a genuine, warm smile. "It's the least I can do. You protect us. The least we can do is make sure you and your kids get a good meal." He handed his card to Chloe, who took it hesitantly. The soldier stared at him, her eyes, which had been filled with embarrassment, now held a mixture of shock and profound gratitude. The children, sensing the shift, looked up at Marcus, their faces brightening. "Thank you," the soldier said, her voice barely a whisper, thick with emotion. "Thank you so much. I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," Marcus replied, his smile unwavering. "Just enjoy your breakfast." And thank you, truly. Chloe processed the payment, and the receipt printed. Marcus took it, folded it, and tucked it into his wallet. He gave a small nod to the soldier, then turned and walked back to his table. He sat down, and Maya immediately demanded, "Daddy, what was that?" "Just helping someone out, sweet pea," Marcus said, ruffling her hair. "It's important to be kind." He glanced back at the soldier's table. She was watching him, her gaze intense, unblinking. She gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent acknowledgement that spoke volumes. The children, now happily digging into their long-awaited pancakes, seemed to have forgotten their earlier distress. Marcus finished his breakfast with his kids, paid his own bill, and left the diner. The warmth of his good deed a quiet comfort in his chest. He didn't expect anything in return. He had simply done what he felt was right. Life, for Marcus, returned to its usual rhythm. He built a new deck for a client, fixed a leaky roof for an elderly neighbor, and spent his evenings helping Jamal with his math homework and reading Maya bedtime stories. The incident at the diner became a fleeting memory, another small act of kindness in a life filled with them. He never saw the soldier again, and he didn't expect to. Meanwhile, the soldier, General Sarah Vance, was anything but forgetful. The card decline had been a temporary glitch, a new bank account being activated, but the humiliation had been real. And Marcus Thorne's intervention, his quiet dignity and unsolicited generosity, had struck her to her core. General Vance was a woman of immense power and influence, a decorated officer who had risen through the ranks of the military with unparalleled dedication and strategic brilliance. She commanded thousands, oversaw complex operations, and advised at the highest levels of government. But beneath the uniform, she was also a mother, a woman who valued integrity and character above all else. That morning, as she watched Marcus walk away, leaving her with her dignity intact, she would not forget his kindness. Upon returning to her base, she discreetly initiated an inquiry, not a military investigation, but a quiet, personal search. She used her resources, not to pry, but to understand the man who had helped her. Within days, she had a comprehensive, yet respectful, profile of Marcus Thorne. She learned about his late wife, lost to a sudden illness 5 years prior. She learned about his struggles to keep his small carpentry business afloat, while raising 2 bright, resilient children. She learned about his volunteer work at the local community center, teaching woodworking skills to at-risk youth. She learned about his unwavering commitment to his family, his community, and his quiet, unassuming acts of generosity. He was exactly as he appeared, a good man, a truly good man. Sarah Vance was deeply moved. In a world often driven by self-interest and transactional relationships, Marcus Thorne was a rare gem. She wanted to invest in him. She wanted to empower him, to give him the opportunities he deserved, not as a handout, but as a recognition of his inherent worth. She spent weeks formulating a plan. A way to approach Marcus that would respect his pride and offer him genuine, sustainable support, tailored to his skills and aspirations. She didn't want to simply write him a check. She wanted to help him build something that would benefit him and his children for years to come. One crisp autumn afternoon, Marcus was in his garage workshop. The familiar scent of sawdust and fresh-cut wood filling the air. He was meticulously sanding a custom bookshelf for a client, his mind focused on the grain of the wood. Maya and Jamal were playing in the small backyard, their laughter a cheerful counterpoint to the worry of his Suddenly, a sleek, black sedan pulled up the gravel driveway. It was the kind of car that looked out of place in his modest neighborhood. Marcus frowned, wiping his hands on a rag. He rarely got unexpected visitors, especially not ones in luxury cars. The driver's side door opened, and a man in a dark suit emerged, his posture stiff and formal. He walked to the passenger side, opened the door, and then, to Marcus's utter astonishment, General Sarah Vance stepped out. She was not in uniform today, but in an elegant, tailored civilian suit. Marcus's jaw dropped. He stared, dumbfounded, as the general walked towards him, a faint, knowing smile on her face. "Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice calm and resonant. The same voice he remembered from the diner, but now imbued with an undeniable authority. Marcus stammered, "General, I didn't expect to see you again. Is everything all right?" He glanced at the sedan, then back at her, a dozen questions swirling in his mind. "Everything is perfectly all right, Mr. Thorne," she replied, her smile widening. "In fact, I'm here because of you." She paused, her gaze sweeping over his workshop, taking in the tools, the half-finished projects, the organized chaos that was his creative space. "I wanted to properly thank you for your kindness that day at the diner. My card situation was complicated, and your generosity, your simple act of humanity, meant more to me than you can imagine." Marcus felt a blush creep up his neck. "General, it was nothing. Just doing what anyone would do." "No, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice firm. "Not everyone. And that's precisely why I'm here. I've learned a little about you since then. About your business, your family, your community work. And I'm deeply impressed." She took a step closer, her eyes holding a serious intensity. "I believe in investing in good people, Mr. Thorne. People who make a difference, even in small ways. And I believe you have immense potential, far beyond what you're currently able to achieve with limited resources." Marcus listened, a growing sense of disbelief washing over him. What was she saying? "My family foundation," General Vance continued, "is dedicated to supporting community development and empowering skilled trades. We're looking to launch a new initiative, a vocational training center for carpentry and woodworking, specifically for underserved youth. A place where young people can learn valuable skills, find mentorship, and build a future. She paused, her gaze fixed on him. I want you, Mr. Thorne, to lead that initiative, to design the curriculum, to manage the workshop, to mentor the students. We will provide the funding, the facility, the resources. All you need to bring is your expertise, your passion, and your incredible character. Marcus stared at her, speechless. A vocational training center, led by him. It was a dream he had sometimes allowed himself to entertain in the quiet hours of the night, a way to give back, to share his skills. But it had always seemed. He finally managed to croak, his voice hoarse. But I'm just a carpenter. I don't have experience running a center like that. General Vance smiled, a genuine, warm smile that transformed her authoritative face. You have something far more valuable, Mr. Thorne. You have integrity, talent, and a proven track record of building not just structures, but lives. We will provide you with the administrative support, the business training, everything you need to succeed. What you offer, Mr. Thorne, is irreplaceable. She extended her hand, not for a handshake, but as an invitation. What do you say, Marcus? Are you ready to build something truly extraordinary? Marcus looked at her hand, then at his own calloused ones. He thought of Maya and Jamal, their futures, the opportunities he longed to give them. He thought of the countless young people in his community who needed a chance, a direction, a mentor. And he thought of the simple act of kindness, the small gesture at the diner, that had somehow led him to this moment. A slow, profound sense of awe, mixed with overwhelming gratitude, settled over him. General Vance, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm ready. The vocational training center, named the Thorne Workshop, became a beacon of hope in the community. Under Marcus's passionate leadership, it flourished, transforming the lives of countless young people. He taught them not just the craft of carpentry, but the values of discipline and the pride of creating something with their own hands. He shared stories of his own struggles, his own triumphs, becoming a mentor. General Sarah Vance, now a close friend and a silent benefactor, often visited the workshop, sometimes bringing her own children, who marveled at the intricate projects being built. She saw the light in the students' eyes, the quiet determination in Marcus's demeanor, and knew that her investment had yielded returns. Marcus's life was irrevocably changed, but he remained the same grounded, humble man. His children thrived, proud of their father's achievements, but more importantly, proud of the man he was. He still took them to family diner on Saturdays, and sometimes, if they were lucky, General Vance and her children would join them, sharing stories and laughter over pancakes and coffee. The story of the black single dad who paid for a soldier's meal, unaware she was a general, became a legend, whispered in the community. It proved that sometimes the greatest acts of generosity aren't about grand gestures. A quiet decision to help a stranger, unaware that in doing so, you might just unlock a destiny far greater than you ever imagined. And that true power, true influence, often lies not in rank or wealth. Transformative act of human compassion.